This
tool or any.
conference will now be recorded.
Why they prefer like assembler compared to COBOL when they design any tool, or when they want to design any system programmer, or if they want to design any system macros. So here is the table of content what I would be covering up in the 15 days program. So this would be helpful for the people who want to work on as an application programmer. So as we have for other language, like even for COBOL, it's for an entry level it would be different, and for an advanced level it would be different. So in this 15 days program, so we will be covering up as an application programmer how to handle a assembler program. And as you all people know, like as Venkat described, like we would be you would be knowing like mainframe session, pre-mainframe session provided by IBM. So we can do the hands-on paralleling, and I would be providing the class notes every day, whatever the programs we execute in the notepad, as well as I'll be providing the PDF and the PPT representation of the training material. The first topic, the introduction to assembly language. And before going to step into the assembler, we would be I would be walking through a couple of minutes on number system. This would be, you people might be well enough good at it, but still I want a couple of minutes to discuss on different types of representation of the numbers. So I would be mainly concentrating on decimal and hexadecimal. As why I want to represent this, because when the data is stored into the memory, how the data will be represented. So all the data, whatever we store it in as a the data what we store, or the instruction whatever it is get converted into ones and zeros, it will be stored in the form of hexadecimal. And next, coming to the memory concepts, this is very important in assembler, because how do we represent, means when you means in my all my sessions I would be trying to compare assembler with COBOL. So people, most of you might be knowing any one of the programming language. So as people are already knowing on COBOL, or might not be, I'll try to correlate that different programming language, how it differs with assembler. So mainly we go with assembler because the developer will have an authority to decide upon what is the size of the assembler program based on the coding techniques, or the whatever might be the constraint. So developer will decide what would be the size of my COBOL assembler program, whereas that is not flexible in COBOL. So you write any instruction, that internally the compiler will convert that COBOL programs into an assembler instruction. Then finally assembler compiler, what it will do, it will convert all assembler statements into a ones and zeros. So how does the memory allocation happens, and how the data will be stored in the memory area, and different types of data representation. What is binary, what is hexadecimal, and what is packed decimal data. So this is about memory concepts. So this is the key role. Like people, if they understand what is memory concepts, so it is almost 5 to 10% of learning an assembler. Then coming to hardcore assembler contents, what are different types of instruction formats we do have. And the one major big challenge in writing coding assembler is you want to deal all of your instructions in very minimal register usage, what we call it as from register 0 to register 50. You want to play your all entire program within these registers. Without register, we don't have a flexible to use n number of registers. The what do we say, the system is designed in such a way that it has flexibility to use 16 registers in my program. And out of 16, apart from 16 register, we do have what we call it as a program status word, which controls about what is the next instruction to be executed, what is the condition code set once after the instruction is executed. So the assembler, it would be easy for people who already coming from engineering background knowing microprocessor or microcontroller. It would be similar to the 8086 or 8085, but it doesn't mean that it would be difficult for others, but it would be easy to catch the things if people already know 8085 or 8086. Then coming to symbols, data constant and storage. This is something similar to what we had different types of data in COBOL. Similar to in assembler, we do have a different types of data constants, or how do we define a variable, and how does the allocation happens when we define a variable, and what are the different types of data types we have. We have packed decimal data, half word, full word, binary, then character, hexadecimal. So there are different types of data types. Then next, coming to data transfer and a logical operation. This is very big topic, but I have made that into a single content. This will we'll talk about what are the different types of instructions we have, and what are the different types of data transfer instruction or logical instruction or compare instruction. It's all, and this is the main topic in the entire table of content. What are the different types of operations we do performing assembly? And participant, as you know, like, what would be the major difference between assembler and a COBOL? When you want to do any bit manipulation on COBOL, it is not allowed. But whereas in assembler, we can do bit manipulation. As people here almost know, like, what is bits, bytes, and nibbles or a byte. So when it comes to bit, we have a flexibility to do the bit manipulation in the assembler. In olden days, the people used to give more preference for the memory. When you want to store any switches, instead of defining a single variable, they used to define clobber every, might be n number of n number of switches into a single byte, representing each bit as the switch. So when you want to do any compare on bit level, assembler is easy to do that. But whereas we can do it in COBOL, but it's very tedious process to do that in COBOL. But in assembler, it's a easy go to do a bit level manipulation or bit level comparison or a bit level instructions. Next, coming to different types of branching we do have, as we other programming language supports arrays. Here also we in assembler we do have any process to define an array, and how do we manipulate an array, or how to do the a set of perform, means when you try to do compare with your COBOL programs, how do we do a perform, depends on like different types of condition, perform until, inline perform. Similarly, even in assembler, we do have a different concepts based on how do we go through any branching concepts. Next, coming to an JCL aspects, what are the different types of compiler option we do have for compiling an assembler program? So yeah, the rand, align. Similar to that, there are so many different concepts we have, based on which how do we pass through them to the compiler option. And before coming to here, I'd be walking through on simple, after first demo session, I'd be walking through on how to write a simple assembler program and compilation of it, and how do we how to execute how to run the compiled program. So here it would be more interested on how do we pass the parameter to the from JCL to an assembler program, and how do we handle that in the assembler? How do we read that palm, the palm water we sent through JCL, and how do we read that in assembler program? And here I might have missed the very big challenging task in assembler is, as I told earlier, we do have a flexibility to use only 16 registers. So when I want to call from program A to program B, and when I come back from program B to program A, what are the different tasks we need to handle? That is a preliminary task which needs to be done when we call from one program to another program. That is what is called entry and exit housekeeping. Entry and exit housekeeping. Because when we call from program A to program B, the program state of program A has to be saved before control goes to the program B, because once the program control goes to program B, as I said earlier, we do have only 16 registers. So the program B has to use them 16 registers. So if I don't save the content of program A, it will get corrupted. The program A state register state will get corrupted, and once the control goes back to program A, the state of all the registers will be corrupted and the execution will get abandoned. So that concept, what we call it as an enter and exit housekeeping. And what is exit housekeeping? Similarly, when the control goes from program B to program A, the program A state, whatever we stored, it has to be retrieved to the register, then the control go back to the program. That is what is called enter and exit housekeeping. And next, coming to what are subroutines? How do we define a subroutines in assembler? And what are the different modes we do have it in assembler? As per current latest technology, we do have a 64-bit assembler, but the what I would be limiting to it is 24-bit or 31-bit addressing mode. 24-bit and 31-bit addressing. So it would be all high-level concepts. I think probably what I'm talking today, but once we go in deeper, probably you'll get more knowledge on what is 24-bit addressing or 31-bit addressing. So I can walk through on that like a couple of minutes now. So basically, when I want to retrieve a byte from a memory, if that has been assigned with 24-bit address, then we call it as a 24-bit addressing. If I want to fetch any byte from a memory, which is having a memory length of 31-bit address, then we call it as a 31-bit addressing.
Amog,
Yes, Abhishek. Yes,
yeah, actually, can you please give a little bit idea on 64-bit processing? Actually, our system has 31-bit processing and 64-bit processing. So, can you please give some differences between 31 and 64 as well?
It's not a difficult. Yeah, I can guide you people on like how it differs from 32-bit to 64-bit addressing.
Okay.
No, some of the instructions which works on 64-bit may not work in 32 bits. The instruction formats are different in 64-bit addressing.
Yeah, basically
So
grand instructions. So that is the only thing we are aware of. Those are the grand instructions. But what are the other infrastructure things or other things we need to include to make our program a 64-bit processing in a processing mode?
yeah, sure, Venkat. Sure, Abhishek. Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not an issue. And while the beauty of assembler is like when we write the program, we can tell the machine whether it's an 24-bit or 31-bit addressing. So at the time of compilation, we can say what type of mode it is, whether it's in a 24-bit addressing mode or 31-bit addressing mode. And the very big important task in assembler is like we can link edit a couple of programs, we can bind couple of programs into a single load, make it as an executable load. But I don't think that we can do it in COBOL. We want to execute the COBOL program and dynamically calling the other COBOL program. But here we can static the one which is similar to COBOL, we call it as a static. Here we do have a static load. We can create 10 programs and we can bind all our 10 programs into one single executable code. That is what is called link edit. We call it as a link edit. Like after doing the compilation of an assembler program, say for example, I do have a 10 assembler programs. I want to link edit all 10 assembler programs into a single executable code. Yes, that we can do it in assembler. So I can write 10 different assembler programs, and while 10 different times I need to execute to do the compilation. But while doing link edit, I think probably people here, you people know like how do we link edit by using IEWI or HEWI. It's an IBM utility which we can use it to link edit. Similarly, here also we do have an IEWI utility to link edit all my 10 different programs into a single executable code. And next, coming to what is an assembler directives and macros. So we do have an assembler directives which are nothing but which doesn't allocate any memory to it, but it will direct the assembler program what it has to do. Some of the assembler directives, for example, I can tell about ltorg, csect, dsect. These are all some of the assembler directives. I'm not limiting to this, but I'm telling few of the assembler directives what it will do. Literal torg, csect, code section, data section. It tells the assembler program it won't allocate any memory in your code section, but it will tell the assembler program what it has to do. It's a directive. It doesn't do any instructions. It doesn't execute any instruction, but it will tell what it is to do. So some of them, few more of them is get, put. It will tell the assembler program what it has to do. And similar to copybook in COBOL program, we do have a flexibility to write a macros. We can write a different layout, writing a layout of the file, or we can write a set of instructions which has to be repeatedly executed in your program. All those can be written in macros, and that can be invoked in assembler program. That is all about macros. We'll discuss more about on this assembler directives and macros. These are all like very key initiative when you want to write a big program. Instead of writing a very big program, we can limit that into a smaller program by using the macros, which are repeatedly executable code. And next is very important thing is how do we do a file handling in assembler. So I'd be walking through on both how do we do a file handling for a flat file as well as for a VSAM file. So for flat files, we do have a set of instructions as we do in COBOL, writing in different section about the file attributes and how do we access it and how do we do it. Similarly, even in assembler, we do have a set of procedures to do a file handling in assembler for both for flat and file handling. But it would be quite different when it compares to flat and VSAM file. And these are two simple examples of file handling directives, assembler directives. It's English reading verb, something like get the record or put the record to the file, so something similar to like that. And at the end of the session, of all these topics, I would be discussing on assign one or two assignments depending on the time it permits after all these discussions happen. So I'd be giving a scenario probably after my 10th day of my session, or once after the JCL aspect is completed, I'd be giving you the assignment task, couple of assignments like how do we do set of logic, how do we work it on assembler, on at last we can discuss on, I'd be discussing live project session like how do we read a file and how do we do a manipulation around, how do we write the report, how do we handle the report, all those stuff we can discuss it on last couple of days on assignment. Probably this has to be come from your end. If based on your inputs we can discuss it as it can be more live session like how do we come across an idea from your end. Instead of I'll be walking through, it would be more from your end as to write it on assignment on one or two assignments.
Amog Alok here actually. Question. Like in this lesson, are you going to cover like how we are going to cover this assembler through COBOL program? Means how we used to handle assembler through COBOL. So are you going to like present some live programs to like on this?
Yeah, definitely. To be every day, I would be using the terminal to execute my program. Like whatever the instruction we learn, so we would be I'll be walking through on executing that program and showing the live demo to you people. Like how do we do go and see in the long listing and so your question is basically how do we I compare to COBOL, right?
Yes, my question belongs to like how like we call actually. In our system, we are there mainly like we used to call assembler through the COBOL programs and just passing the uh, data and just returning back some like so. Assembler is like a big black hole to me, so that's why I would like to understand on the COBOL perspective.
Yeah, that would be exactly, yeah, that I would be covering up in linkage 24-bit. That is what I supposed to talk about. Like, so how do when a program calls from 24-bit addressing to a 31-bit addressing, all your COBOL programs basically most of them are in 31-bit addressing mode. When I am calling from 24-bit addressing mode, what are the prerequisites I need to handle when I'm going to a 31-bit addressing mode word? Because when you go to a 31-bit addressing mode, when you're sending a parameter values from 24-bit to 31-bit, definitely there is a big problem in it. So before calling a 31-bit addressing mode, yeah, definitely we need to handle some prerequisite steps to convert from 24-bit to 31-bit addressing mode. Yeah, that I would be covering up.
Amog,
Are you going to show any sample program today? Simple assembly program, as you said.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, not an issue.
and Amog, one more thing. Does it support the DB2 also as a backend?
Yeah, it will support, but this program, 15 days program, what I'm covering up here, it won't be. I'll be not handling that part as of now. Yeah, it
Okay.
will it is having a flexibility to invoke DB2 as well as CICS.
Oh, okay. CSS also it will be.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, Amol, I'm specifically looking for a different kind of different form of macros, like list and execute form of macros and re-entrancy concept. So at assembler side, how to implement that re-entrancy thing. So will you be covering that thing also?
Yeah, good point, Srini. Yeah, I missed that part, like re-entrance. Yeah, that is very important. Yeah. Yes, that I would be covering up. Yes, definitely, because it's a art and soul of your assembler. Like, how do we re-entrancy? Why it is so important? Yeah, definitely, I'll be doing that. People can see my screen, right? Yes. So this is a very simple assembler program. As the other programming when they talk about, they say hello world program. Even hello world program, if you see people, how much line it is there? 42 lines has to be coded. This is something people don't like nowadays. But in assembler, yeah, definitely it has to be done through so many set of, excluding, even if you exclude this first 16 lines, even if you exclude this first 16 lines, even then it has to, at least you need to code at least 20 to 25 lines of code to write a simple assembler program. So as I walked through earlier, these are my entry housekeeping, this is my exit housekeeping. Similar to display in COBOL, we call it as a WTO. WTO is an instruction which tells about what you want to perform, what you want to display within the quotes what you want to do. Just a simple assembler program, and already I've compiled it. I'll show you like how do we run through that program. I'll run and I'll show where exactly you want to see your. So at the time of execution, let me show you like my compile JSON. So as I told earlier, like similar to IGYC or CATL for COBOL, we do have an utility or a program which does the compilation of assembler programs ASMA 90. Here I need to go my program and where it has to reside. And this is what I was talking about. Very important task is IEWL. IEWL is a utility. These are the options, compiler options. So here I given one name as program1 and entry is program1. My COBOL simple program name, what I have defined is PGM1. And these are my includes. I can include n number of programs to bind together into form a single load executable load. This is the load module name. And as the other programming language tells about, what is your entry point? If say for example I have 10 different programs, I want to tell the load IEWL, I want to tell to the IEWL saying that what is my entry program. Like when you want to enter any building, you want to show the exit entry door, right? Similar to like that. Out of 100 programs or 10 programs in my load, what should be my entry program? So that is what we show it as entry program. Since I compiled a single load module, so I given both name and entry name as both are same. If I have 10 different programs, I'll give my load name as different and entry program as first program which I want to enter it in out of the 10 programs or 100 programs.
What is this? You represent R in front of name in the last line,
Very good question.
second last line.
That is renaming. Say for example, I'm keep executing the same load, rerunning the same JCL for a couple of times. If I
Okay.
don't give R, it will not append it. Not append, it will not overwrite it. It will say that your compile or link edit JCL output, it shows that. I think it's taking time.
So you are saying it's not refreshing the load?
Yes, it throws an error message. Already the load exists.
Okay, but this functionality is basically is like whenever you compile, it automatically refreshes the load. It automatically overrides it. So it seems like this is your shop specific parameter.
Yes, not shop specific. It is common across for all the versions of program assembler. So it is just renaming, means reusing it. Even if it also already PGM exists in this load library, it will just replace that PGM with this new load, whatever you are creating. So after executing that simple COBOL program, assembler program, in sys message we can show like what is the display you are doing it. But I think system is very busy, so it is taking more time for the execution.
It's in position 1. Change priority to 15 and see.
No, some of the here it won't, some of them it won't allow it, I guess.
Not here, not here. You can change in job itself, spool itself.
No, here it is not allowed. I think some of them are shop specific. Here it won't allowed in free version.
Okay.
So any questions from your end? So I'm happy to answer of them. Like if you want to specific thing, if you're looking, if I want to cover it up, I can add it if it is really needed in that program.
Among why we need to use assembler? Basically, we have a COBOL programming. What are the main advantages over COBOL when we use assembler?
Very good question. Yes. Yeah. When I'm having a simple thing can be done it in COBOL, why I want to go and do it in assembler? So assembler basically, as I told earlier, you can decide like what should be the length of your program, like whereas that is flexibility, it can't be done it in COBOL. When you define any variable, when you write a perform, when you write a simple perform, the many things will be done, whereas in COBOL. But behind the scene, it is basically an assembler. When you compile your COBOL program also, it will be first converted to an assembler. After doing the compilation of your COBOL program, you can go and see in the just message log the equivalent, what is the equivalent for each COBOL instruction, equivalent assembler instruction. What are the equivalent assembler instruction? So to answer your question, the execution time you can reduce it. So for example, if you have a low COBOL program of length of 5 MB,
Okay.
the execution time of 5 MB program might be take longer time compared to when you can write a 5 MB program into a 3 MB program in assembler. The execution time it takes very lesser. As you all people know, mainframe, the execution it's like a very tickling time. It takes very lesser time. Millions of transactions can be executed in a couple of minutes. So it can be done, fine tuning can be done in assembler. As a programmer, as a developer, you can do more fine tuning compared to COBOL, compared when you come to an assembler. And one more important thing is, as I told in my table of content, bit manipulation. People in olden days, they written compact data. Instead of defining a, say for example, when it comes to real-time scenario, instead of defining a 8 different switches in a single variable, each of a single variable, they compact all those 8 variables into one byte of data. So participant, can people go on mute? If so, it would be disturbing for others if there is a lot of background noise. So instead of defining 8 different variables, also how much memory it will take each byte as one byte, 8 bytes. So 8 bytes is nothing but 64 bits it will take in order to define 8 variables, 8 single 1 byte variable. But whereas when they compact everything 8 bytes into 8 variables, so it's single variable, making each bit as one switch. So it can be done in only 8 bits instead of 64 bits. You can compact that in 8 bits, whereas in assembler. And in order to do a validation, it is more simpler in assembler compared to other programming like COBOL. So bit level manipulation or bit level validation can be done very easily in assembler. And the people who are working as a system program, for them the assembler is key for them, because whenever they want to design any tool, you might be knowing a competitors like CA or Broadcom nowadays, they are into more interested. So they all majorly work on assembler, because when they want to design any tool, they should be having an authority to decide upon like what is the size and what is the size of the tool or something like that. So for them, it's very important assembler, and also to communicate to the system, like accessing a system variable or interrupting in a system. It's more simpler compared the writing a code might be complex, but the way of communication, the communication between the system and the programmer, it would be more easier compared to COBOL, whatever we do it in assembler. So hope I answered your question, participant, regarding
Yeah,
why do we go
thank you.
for assembler.
And I do have another.
Yeah, please.
How would we know our environments are supporting assembler? Is there any way to check? Just curious to know.
One simple thing I would say, like if your shop is able to execute an assembler program, this assembler compilation, if it allows an assembler compilation, the basic necessity thing, it will allow your execution of an assembler program. Here. If your shop is having ASME 90, if it is allowing, if your environment is allowing executing compilation of an assembler program, yeah, definitely it will have a feasibility to run your assembler program in your environment.
Okay, thank you.
So I'd be open to add a few topics if people are really interested to add the specific topic if they really wanted to know, and it would, if it is helpful for the other participant, yeah, definitely I can I would be happy to add topics if you are really interested to looking for that. I'm open for that. Yeah.
Yeah, Amok, can you please include that get main and put main memory storage?
Yeah, that is there. That is what assembler directives, that is already there here. So as I
That's
told earlier, these are only limited. What I talked about to walk through on what are the table of content. I just give an example, LTOR, CSET or this. Yeah, get main, free main. That I'll be walking through, Abhishek.
okay. Yeah, it's like when do we need to do and how much in one get main we can get the memory storage.
Yes. That is also one of the beauty in assembler. Like in COBOL, as a compiler of depending on the version of the COBOL, you'll be having the limitation to allocate a working storage variable length. But whereas in assembler, that is not an issue. We can access MBs of memory from using any get main or free main.
So is it some limit is defined like for one get main instruction that this much amount of memory we will get?
No, Abhishek. You can write it up. Like there are certain limitation. So we can discuss more on that, like when I'm working through on instruction, get main.
Okay, sure.
It's not an instruction, sorry, it's an directive, assembler directive.
Yeah, right. Okay, sure.
Amam, can you show us how to debug the assembler code?
Debug, only best option for now is
How to set up and how to debug?
WTO, writing similar to display in COBOL, debugging the one if your shop doesn't have anything like what I could say expeditor or RDZ, the best option is WTO. I'll be walking through on WTO, like how do we debug the code, like where exactly it is showing error and how do we do that. A very famous build is SOC 7. Data is invalid, like packet data. When you try to execute some of the instruction which is not in packed format, there it will execute. I'll show them like by doing any WTO. Because if your environment is having expeditor, debugger, expeditor or debugger or RDC, easy
Yeah,
to
we
learn
have
assembler,
experience.
I would say.
Yeah, we have
You,
accelerator.
if you have, if people are having an expeditor, I would really say for them it's very easy to go through the assembler learning once after attending this program. Definitely, I can bet on them. People like they can go through on very easy debugger or expert, but it might not be flexible for all of them. But the difficult part is by the best approach we can go with is WT. If the people doesn't have a debugger or expert, but in my program, I'll be walking through only on WT.
Okay.
And I would be sharing PPTs on instructions. I mean, what are the content I'm working through, and also on everyday notes I'll be sending through as Venkat is following his approach. So in Notepad, I'll be giving you people the like whatever the class session is done on that day. I'll be giving those in Notepad, like what are the topics we have discussed. So for a couple of
And
days,
about
like yes, please, Mantesh.
yeah, how about practicing the mainframe ID will be given for assembler.
Okay,
Yeah, that
Amog,
I'll
I
be.
want to address.
Hello.
Amog,
Yeah,
I
please,
will
Venkat.
address here.
Yeah, please,
Yeah,
Venkat.
so guys, as I said, okay, so since assembler can execute on free ID also, so now, as you know, IBM is providing mainframe ID for everyone. So we will guide you how to do register if you face any challenges. Okay, so you no need to procure
Okay.
any ID or you need to take any rent at all. Just their IBM on the IBM which is providing from there, we can do hands-on. So that we will guide you tomorrow. Okay. So
Okay. Okay.
if you give access also, that will be there for 15 days, 20 days. But IBM is already providing to practice something for mainframe resources. So we have already option over there. So better we can use it, and you can practice for more than, I guess, 1 year. If they are giving for free of cost, so you can utilize that option.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me stop the recording. I hope you are done, Amol, for this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Venkat and
yeah.
Amog, one basic thing
Yeah, I'm
actually, apart from